Well, it's officially a reality. That has been 3 years in the making, and most of the time when something's leading up to it, when you finally end up getting it, especially with something like this, it's usually worse than you thought. I want to do a quick walk around on this thing, and let me just remind you, this thing, the rocker panels were in the ground. The frame rails were in the ground. The floor was in the ground. The transmission pan, engine oil pan, engine cradle, the whole K-member, all the front control arms, all the way up, halfway up the brake drums on the back side and the front, 3/4 of the way up the brake drum in the back over here, halfway up the brake drum on the other side. And like I said, both rocker panels right up to the top. You could see about 3/4 of an inch or something like that of the top edge of the rocker panel. The rest was on dirt. And now, after like kind of looking it over, when I jacked it up there, I expected I was going to have to jack it up like 2 inches, block it, jack it from the other side, block it, because the car was going to be twisting. I brought ratchet straps to tie the front control arms to the rear axle, because my initial plan was that this thing was probably going to want to break in half, and I was going to strap the front control arms to the rear axle and then hook my tow strap up to the front control arms with a bridle. So essentially, when I was pulling on all 4 wheels, not on the body. Turns out I didn't need to do any of that. Thank God. That saved some time and aggravation. But when I jacked it up, the impression of the torsion bar crossmember was fully embedded in the ground, with the floor pans packed the dirt down around it. Like, you could see the imprint of the whole floor pans, the frame rails, the torsion bar crossmember, the rocker panels, everything. In the moment, I should have got a video of it because it was pretty phenomenal. But instead, I looked under and I was like, holy crap, there's a torsion bar crossmember under there and there's a frame rail left. And it was to the point where at one point I had 3 wheels off the ground, jacking from one corner, and the car didn't twist. So, I want to cover a couple of things on it now. We'll do a quick walkthrough. It's about to start raining. I do want to pressure wash the underside of this thing, get the carpet out of it, and get all the interior bits out of the thing. Just get it cleaned out and get a full survey of the situation. But let me show you what I've seen so far. So far, you can see that door does not line up at all. That's usually a sign that the body is twisted, but there's no buckling in anything. And then upon further looking at it, if you look up top, you got a decent little gap to the fender here. The fender's got a decent gap to the cowl, so you know that's all right. And if you come down, the door is under the fender, but the guiding point is the front of the rocker panel. Look at how much further back. Usually the door lines up perfectly with the rocker panel, so the fender gap to the rocker panel and the door remains the same all the way. And if you look, the top of this is caved in, and all multiple little dents. So my guess is this door was open. My guess is people were jumping on the door and it slid that hinge, because that door post is solid. So that being crooked there is of no concern to me. I had a friend watching that the whole time we were jacking it, and that didn't shift at all. Now, we've done the walk around of the car itself. Let's take a look underneath. And this is pre-pressure washing. So I know there's going to be some stuff hidden by dirt and stuff, but that's the torsion bar crossmember. It looks like it might have a little rot right near the transmission crossmember. The transmission mount down the bottom. But they typically rot out here on this outside all the way around, and the torsion bar springs right up through the floor. Now, look at the rocker panel. You can still see the whole pinch weld all the way down. Look at the pinch weld. You can still see the welds. The bolts are still here All that's still there for mounting the fender. The fender itself is obviously missing, but that's okay. And frame rail up here looks pretty good. The tie rods were under the dirt. And let's see. And the transmission pan was under the dirt. You can see the dirt level all the way up there over like the speedo cable or whatever that might be up there. Up over that sensor. That's how deep it was in the dirt. And the transmission pan's not rotted. The engine oil pan was in the dirt. Those tie rod ends were in the dirt. That engine cradle was in the dirt. This filler panel here was in the dirt. That whole K-member was in the dirt. The control arms were in the dirt. And there's no rod on that cradle that I can see so far. Now, you can see how deep this was in the dirt because none of this fell out during the jacking and driving down the road with it on the trailer. But obviously, the back part of the rocker is gone in the quarter. This is just a bad spot for these cars in general because the quarter window opening lets water in. But again, look at the rocker panel. Look at the floors. The floors were in the dirt. You can see the roots still around the floors, all the floor pans. No way would I have ever guessed that, especially for a second gen Charger. But look at that torsion bar cross member. It's still complete. That white Charger that I bought, that I pulled out of the barn, even that thing sat on Galvy panels and everything else. And the drive shaft had a rot hole in it. The floors are worse than this. Like, look at how deep that U-joint was. Like, come on. And then, like, rear wheel wells. Oh, sorry, you guys are still mega zoomed. But even a lot of the rear wheel wells is still good. Most of the way down. A little bit off the back edge is missing. There's my wood block I stuffed in there for temporary suspension. All right, let's go over the other side. This side here, a lot of the dirt came out. Spring mount. But look at the floor up there. It still has the rubber plugs in it. How are these floors and rocker panels and everything this solid? And same thing. There's my big old block of wood that I just wedged on top of the axle because the rear part of the leaf spring has nothing to go to. And same thing, the wheel wells, pretty good all the way down until you get way down the very bottom. And same thing up there. And same thing, you know, quarter panel, doors got to rot. This was crashed here at one point. Fender was shoved back. This is all Bondo here. So the door was shoved back. If you look, the whole door's right up against the quarter. But check out all the bullet holes. These things have bullet holes for days. But all like the upper lip for the windshield is good all the way across. We'll do a more in-depth walk around of this when I get the carpet out of it, everything cleaned out of it, and pressure washed underneath, and everything cleaned out of it, cut off the remnants of the vinyl roof and all that stuff. Sorry about my voice. I've been in like jungle environment for 2 days straight, sweating my butt off, kind of getting dehydrated, and a lot of talking. So, yeah. So this is one of those cases where things turn out better than you expected. I mean, is it still a rusty, crusty car that needs a lot of stuff? Yes. But let's take a quick look in the trunk here. I think I can get this unhooked quick. Let's see. Come on. Bear with me, guys and girls. Come on. Come on. It's not your home anymore, racket strap. There we go. Oh, look at this even. Look at the package tray. Or what do they call that? Dutchman panel on these? But look at how much dirt from tree debris is in there. And it was covering all of this. This was a 100-mile ride home. And look at how clean that is. Obviously, the quarters are all rotted off here like they are. This deck panel's rotted off like it always is. Actually, I think the Dutchman panel goes under this, if I remember right. And that's just I forget. But anyway. But at first glance, it looks like the roof's good along up there. I haven't pulled that all apart, but nothing blatantly obvious. But this is the ugly part, that everybody would say that this car is totally junk because the frame rails are gone and the floor is gone. So what's your thoughts on that before I start talking on that? And if you look, this whole back area, it was only being held on by this little corner and the outside skin. If it stepped on the back here, it wanted to straighten that quarter panel out like a wing and fold the back down, which I didn't want to happen just for aesthetics. So I wedged a piece of metal up into the corner, went down, simple sheet metal screw, wedged in there, triangulating it on both sides, and that kept this thing rock solid for the whole ride. But like I said, you look at this and it's like, okay, it needs a complete trunk floor, frame rails, quarter panels, back filler panel. Now some people will say that's not rebuildable. Let me ask you a question. If you're rebuilding a second gen Charger, you know they're worth decent money. They always have rot, well, almost always have rot at the very back of the frame rail near the tail panel here, and around like the leaf spring mount where that bracket comes off the side and stages like a little secondary frame rail looking thing. There's always rot back there because that's where everything got kicked up over the years. So if you're building a good one, are you going to buy frame rails and graft in a section, or are you just going to drill out all the spot welds and put both frame rails in? Myself, I'm going to put both frame rails in because then you know the lengths are exactly right, you know the contours are right, you're not going to weld on that extra piece a little crooked. You're going to take all those equations out and the car's going to be that much nicer in the end. So what's it matter if it needs 2 inches of the back of the frame rail or 20 inches like this one? Frame rail's a frame rail, right? And if you're rebuilding one of these and the trunk pan has some holes in it, are you going to go around and patch a bunch of small holes in it or put a center section in one of these if you're making a nice car? No, you're going to replace the whole trunk pan. This needs a whole trunk pan. If you're doing quarter panels, you do the full quarter panels with the sail panel that wraps all the way around into the window. These taillight panels, usually around the bottom of the taillights, are rotted. If not, right under the bumper area, they're rotted. Now, if you're doing full quarter panels, are you going to patch together that tail panel? No, you're going to buy a new one because you're not cleaning up welds, you're not patching in pieces. You're just going to fit it in there, clamp it, massage it a little bit, get the lines right, and spot weld it together. So realistically, anytime you see one of these cars being fixed right, it's the roof structure with the quarters cut off from here down, the package tray gone because those rotted out on good cars, quarter panels are off, frame rails are out of it, floor's out of it, which means the whole body panel and everything's off of it. So at that point, why is this one not fixable? Because a lot of people are going to say this isn't fixable. That's all the same repairs that you're going to buy. And let's talk honesty here. You buy something that's got a 10-year-old subpar paint job on it, it's going to have a bunch of Bondo under it. And at that point, if you want a nice car, or if you want to build one to sell for all the money, once you start stripping that body, you're going to be putting quarters on it. You're going to find holes in the trunk pan once you pull up the trunk mat, like all of that. So like even one that's a driver of these cars, people that know these cars, like I'm not talking people that used to Camaros and Chevelles and other stuff. Second gen B-body Chryslers. These things rotted out on a good day. Torsion bar cross members are usually missing. On something this bad, they're missing. Anything decently good, there's at least a couple holes in them. And all this rear paneling is super common. Like you'll look under that bottom chrome trim under the back window on a good car that you take apart just to paint it, and you're gonna find pinholes, because that comes forward and dips down and then comes up to the channel where the window sits with a rubber gasket to hold all the moisture there. There's no drains, there's no nothing. They all rot out right there. So realistically, you spend all the money on something that looks decent, and then you start a restoration. I watched one of my buddies working at a high-end restoration shop. They had a 72-ish, I think, El Camino. That was a driver. It was a driver car that the customer brought in for them to restore. My buddy sent me pictures of it. It was an El Camino. It was the skeleton of the cockpit left. That was it. Part of the firewall, the door jambs, and the roof structure. Inner outer quarters, bed floor, everything. Everything was replaced. Rockers, doors, fenders, hood, everything was replaced. So this is not a bad starting point, because how much money you'll save, not necessarily on these. Typically, I got a good deal on this. Typically, you'll spend all the money on these things. So yeah, so that's the initial walk around, and we'll do actually I'll do one last little walk around on it. So as I mentioned in one of the other videos, this is a replacement fender at some point. Obviously a massive shotgun hole in it, some rot down the bottom, but it's not damaged. It's totally fixable. That is, it's not all folded up and caved in. The hood, the inner structure is gone. 70 Charger hoods are very hard to find. The front here, the doors are here and stuff like that. A lot of the mechanisms are here for the headlights. Obviously the grill's busted out of it. That bottom valence panel, that's rotted. That's gonna need one of those. This fender needs a lot of work. For any average car, this is not worth fixing. This being a 70 Charger, you're gonna buy one with rot, probably half as much rot as this, for $500 to $700. So maybe you strip this one and really look it over and see if it's worth fixing, or buy another one that's rotted and use some parts of this to fix that one. And doors, I'm pretty sure the doors are readily available. Quarters are readily available. Full quarters, they'll give you all the way down past the rocker, all the way in the door jamb, up the wholesale panel, all the way around to where it ties into the back. So that's a non-issue. I actually have one brand new 69 Charger one left over from the other two Chargers I had that I could use on that side. I think the only thing that changes is the size of the side marker light. And a lot of the dash is there. It's in poor shape, but a lot of it is there. So maybe there's some salvageable bits and stuff like that there. And these upper pieces of the doors and quarters and stuff like that, those are hard to find. I know initially the one from this door was in the car 3 years ago. I don't know that it's still in there now or not. But yeah, and you know, quarters are rotted all the way up to the window area, to the roof area and stuff like that. There might be holes in the roof skin. They're readily available. It is what it is. But yeah, that's the 70 Charger. And it does have a 383, and I'm not good on the Mopar trannies. I think it's a 727 that's in it. Maybe one of you guys could tell me for sure by seeing the transmission pan and where the lines go in and all that jazz. Like I said, I'm not good at it, so don't hang me on the Mopars. The motor is most likely junk, but seeing the oil pan was still on it and the hood's been roughly on it, I'm going to see if it's going to break free. I'm going to see if I can spin this thing free and get the thing to start up. I highly doubt it, but I'm going to give it a try because I just want to know. It might be fun. And if it does, then we might be able to drive this thing around the property here with no brakes. We'll see. But anyway, that's one of the first good walk-arounds of the car. Tell me what you think. You saw the environment this thing came from. Would you have guessed that this thing had floor pans in it? Would you have guessed that this thing had frame rails in it and torsion bar cross members and rocker panels and all that? Because I know I would not have. And I know I've seen plenty of other brand cars that do survive very well. These things don't particularly survive very well. Anyway, thanks for stopping in, and that's it. We will next video, I'll probably be pressure washing, cleaning up the undercarriage, getting the carpet out of it, getting a good look at the floors. I know I did see a hole on the passenger side toe kick area. I saw a hole probably like 3 inches by 6 inches or something like that up at the toe kick. So I know there's a hole there. So that's not going to be a surprise at all. But I'm really curious to see what I'm going to find when I pull that carpet out. And that'll be a whole nother thing when I'm cleaning out the inside, what we'll find in there. I know there's beer cans and stuff like that. There's something really interesting about the windshield remnants that are left in the car that I've never seen before. So we'll cover that. And yeah, so next video, probably pressure washing, putting a bar on the motor, and just kind of looking the motor over. There's all stuff around the back of the motor, around the cowl, get all that out of there, see what we're looking at, and see if we find any surprise rot on the firewall more than I'm expecting. And I don't know, if the motor starts turning over with a bar on the next video, you might see it run, but I might have to source distributor and plug wires and a few other things like that. But anyway, let's end this video here. Sorry for the fumbled ending. I am exhausted and I am excited. Anyway, thanks for stopping in. You guys are awesome. And follow me, subscribe, share this stuff if you can. Help out the channel. But make sure you come back. We'll keep doing some follow-ups on this as we go.